What a difference 10 days make. Still a loss, but at least we didn't lose by 30. Welcome to the Commanders post-game report.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, back again. One half of that dynamic duo that's Let's Talk Football. This is the Washington Commanders post-game report. Second preseason game is in the books. We played the Cincinnati Bengals. Unfortunately, another L. We took another loss. But again, preseason starters only got a couple of snaps. JD5 only got one drive. So, obviously we didn't have everybody in, and we got a chance to see a couple people here and there. But at the end of the day, still came away with the loss. But you asked me, Sean, it's preseason. Can you take anything away from this? And yes, we absolutely can. We got to see the starters, and they had energy. We got to see a successful run game. That worked well. But then on the flip side, we only threw for a total of about, if I'm not mistaken, under 100 yards. 85 to be exact, between Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman. It really didn't look great. Josh Johnson went 6 of 9. Sam Hartman went 4 of 10. Both of them throwing an interception. JD5 was in the game, but he did not pass the ball. I understand Mariota's kind of hurt right now, and he's get locked up to number 2. So we're really looking for that. Who is that third guy? And look, we know what Josh Johnson has done in this league. We know how many different teams he's been on. He's a veteran and knows what he needs to do. These are the times preseason when he can shine. Sam Hartman needed to show us something. I mean, he's been on the practice squad, obviously highly touted out of Notre Dame and NC State when he was, or Wake Forest when he was there before. We had to see something more from Hartman, and obviously he's still recovering from that shoulder surgery, but I didn't see anything. I didn't, including his first pass was almost a pick six. Then obviously he had that other interception. I really didn't see what I needed to see from him, and I think we're going to see. Obviously, we're probably going to get a lot of action from him next week against the Ravens. But if he can't get it together, he might need to pack his bags, and that's just what it is. Just what it is. Other than that, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. We lost the game 31-17 to the Bengals. First team looked good. Second team looked okay. And we had some starters sprinkled in with some backups, and then they slowly filtered those guys out. After that, not a lot. Not a lot. We did get a field goal from Gay, which was nice. We really weren't able to do much else after the main guys started. And I know, look, you're mainly focused on who's, the starting guys and really getting to see some of those guys. But there was a number of guys, a number of rookies that we really wanted to see. Now, unfortunately, since the past game really didn't take off at all, not many people got more than just a reception, including, Tay Martin, KJ Osborne, Cole Turner, Ja'Cory Brooks, Jeremy Nichols. All these guys got at least a reception, but only 2 guys got more than one. And one of those was Ja'Cory, Krosky Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, who got 2 for a long of 2 yards, by the way. And then you had Jalen Lane, who had 3. And if I'm not mistaken, he had those 2 of those in the first half, if not all 3 in the first half. So, we got to have a little bit more production in the passing game. But part of the reason why is because we had guys that we really wanted to see what they did. As far as the run game, over almost 200 yards on the ground, that's good. I wanted to see that. Now, shout out to Will, who wanted to see Kaz Allen and see what he was able to do, and he was given every opportunity under the sun. But unfortunately, especially in the run game, he wasn't able to do much of anything, getting 3 carries for under 10 yards. had 3 returns for 82 yards or long of 33. So at least he's getting in there in the return game. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Felton in the first 2 preseason game has looked decent, and Kaz Allen, I mean, really hasn't shown me much. He showed me enough to potentially keep him around, but he's going to be towards the end of that 53-man roster if he does stay. And I could also see him potentially, going on the practice squad or something of that nature. So we'll see what he brings to the table. But unfortunately, even one of the guys I wanted to see did because there was a lack of a passing game, weren't able to see Luke McCaffrey. Weren't able to see him really get some attention, potentially some touches. Was able to see him on the field, but nothing more than that. We'll see what happens next week. He's got one more chance to get out there and show that he can be a part of, he can contribute to this team. And I'm sorry, but there's too many wide receivers on this roster for him to be falling deeper and deeper into the depth chart. So, we'll see if he'll get himself another opportunity, but it doesn't look good for him. We talked about before, and at the halftime report, Mitchell Tinsley had himself I want to say career day in preseason, but it was definitely a solid day, and the situation that came full circle. Obviously, he was with us a year ago, and we let him move on, and so the fact that he's found kind of a home here, getting 5 receptions for 73 yards and a couple touchdowns it's big for him, and shout out to him for getting that action, being able to uh, you know show something, put something on on uh, on film, so other teams can kind of see what he's bringing to the table. I'm trying to look up really quickly the the team stats on here, and look, I mean, the Bengals. And then you break it down this way: 24 first downs to 14. They had more plays than us. Um, um, we outrushed them, and they out. I mean, they out. They had far more time. They doubled our time, almost doubled our time in time possession, with reaching almost 40 minutes in time possession. So they were on the field for long periods of time, including a drive that essentially ended the game late in the game, where it was like over 15 plays, if I'm not mistaken, over 5 to 7 minutes, if not longer. That one that started in the third quarter and didn't end till like 5:40 in the fourth. So, they kept us off the field. I wanted to see a little bit more from the backups on defense. I wanted to see if they could have, provided more of more kind of competition out there. Kind of looked like once the starters got out, the secondary and some of the defensive guys kind of, I don't want to say fell by the wayside, but they definitely struggled. And it was one of those situations where you're kind of sitting here, kind of like, all right, who's going to step up? Who's going to make that play? And they were getting gashed kind of in the past. They were getting run on, and it was somewhat frustrating, but then at the same time, this is what you want to see. You want to see what these younger guys are going to do when their kind of backs are against the wall. I mean, all in all, we still held Cincinnati to under 100 yards on the ground and held them to only 3 yards a carry. So all in all, we did do good, but their passing attack had over 200 yards in the air with 3 passing touchdowns, including 2 by Jake Browning and 1 by Joe Burrow. So although I was impressed by our secondary, I, we that was clearly the difference in the game. We lost by 2 touchdowns. So when you had those 3 passing touchdowns, that's the difference. So that's something we're going to have to get buttoned up. We're going to have to get taken care of down the line. As far as everything else, like it's on to next week for me. This game, albeit a preseason game, still fun to watch. Still had a little bit of excitement. You heard the crowd trying to go wild when JD5 ran in that touchdown early on, and then obviously when Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt had that breakaway run for the touchdown. So it was nice to see some excitement in house, um, and you really wanted to kind of get that feel. I mean, we're a month away from really getting back into action and starting this thing up, starting year 2 of JD5 and all that. So it was good to hear from the players who all are very excited to have Jaden and a lot of the new additions. And the fun thing I will say about this is we looked good in that first half, and we didn't have a lot of our starters. And what I mean by that is we didn't have some of our O line. We didn't have some of our key components on defense. You know what I mean? And that was something that if once we get those guys back, once we get Luvu to play a full game, you know what I mean? That's something where you licking your lips like, oh yeah, oh we got this. Oh, we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. So don't put that much weight into this. Good to see your guys get out there and really kind of go after it for a while, going up against another team. We looked good. We played good at times. The score obviously isn't exactly indicative of that, but at the same time, you have a lot of different players going in there. These are all teaching lessons. We looked a lot better this week than we did last 10 days ago against the Patriots. A lot better. I was very proud of what I saw in this game as opposed to the last one. Um, but yeah, no, for me, I'm good. I'm good with the performance. I'm good with what we saw. I'm good with how we saw from the starters. And now it's kind of on to the Terry conversation and the Brian Robinson conversation. Obviously, that's going to dominate the headlines in Washington this coming week. So we're gonna keep following those stories, and even like I was telling some of my buddies in the group chat today, we might be getting to that point where you have to start looking at life without B Rob and God forbid without Terry. Obviously, Terry's still kind of locked and he's still set on this contract regardless, and he took him off the pup list, so hopefully he'll be able to get in some action. Although he wasn't there tonight, but we're gonna have to start getting to that point where we're starting to look at this situation and say, you know, if we have to go on without him, it stinks, and we're definitely not the same team in my opinion. But you know, it could be a possibility. And as far as B Rob, we'll see what happens. We'll see. I will say this, and shout out to Will who alluded to it earlier. If these running backs, the Rodriguez, the McNichols, Cross Kimera, and obviously when Eckler gets back, and even Felton's making the best of his opportunity. Once these guys get in there and seeing if they continue to play like they did today, you do kind of, I don't want to say fully forget B Rob, but you do kind of sit there and say, huh, these guys look pretty good. And again, it's just preseason, but still, there was a certain explosion, a certain explosiveness that you saw that you didn't normally get from B Rob. So, and that's hard for me to say because I'm a huge B Rob fan. So, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But we'll definitely be talking about this. But now let's get back to the drawing board, get back to working out, get back to getting in practice, learning what we need to learn, and all those guys now. The cut down day is right around the corner. Well, that urgency, that you're that feeling of your back against the wall. All these rookies, all these veterans that might have come on here, looking for a chance, looking for an opportunity. Hey, we can see that there's business people at the head at the top of our organization, so they'll do what they need to do to win. And you got to show up and give them a reason to want to keep you on this team. So much best of luck to them. But hey, time to get back to work. Time to get ready for next week. Commanders will be hosting the Baltimore Ravens in the I-95 rivalry. So always good to see those guys. We will not be having our scrimmage and kind of joint practices and everything. There's been way, way too many fights and kind of altercations at camp, which you kind of want to see at some point, but at the same time, you don't want to get anybody unnecessarily hurt. So, yeah, yeah, we won't be having that. But look, we're out of here. I'm out of here. It's your boy Sean Spencer. Again, Commanders lost 31-17. And hey, on to the final week of the preseason. Washington Commanders, Baltimore Ravens. Stay tuned. You're gonna want to see what this last preseason game does as we get ready for the NFL season. So for your boy Sean Spencer, I'm out of here. Left hand up, people. Let's get it.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington